Good morning. Pleased, as always, to bring in Joe DiGenova, legal analyst and former U.S. attorney to the District of Columbia. Joe, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Nice to have you back. George Papadopoulos sentenced Friday to 14 days in prison, also getting a $9,500 fine.
Yeah.
14 days, that's almost like, a chance to see what prison's like, and then you can leave.
That's a golf trip to Florida.
Yeah, what do you make of that short sentence for George Papadopoulos?
Well, it's a sign that the court views it for what it was. He pleaded guilty to lying about a legal act. His meetings with Stephen Halper and others were completely legal, and they were actually pretextual meetings that were set up by the FBI by Peter Strzok. When all is said and done, Mr. Papadopoulos turns out to be a fool, an idiot, and a dumbbell. But that said, his plea is a nothing burger. What does matter is that this is going to be a bad next 30 days for a bunch of people in the FBI and the DOJ under Obama. The Mueller probe is coming to an end with no indictments about collusion whatsoever. There will be one further indictment, another lying about false statements made to the FBI. But other than that, it's over. And Mueller has told very close associates that he was handed, quote, a piece of crap on collusion, end quote. And they knew it from day one. What's disgraceful is that because of that, he continued forcefully to try and find something else, and they ended up with nothing. Congratulations to Rod Rosenstein for creating a monstrous 18 months for the President of the United States. But we shall see what happens after the election.
Joe, that's rather specific. So this Mueller investigation will be done within the next 30 days?
No, not done within the next 30 days because they're still going to draft a report to accuse the president of interfering in the Flynn case. They're going to try and make an obstruction out of that, which, of course, is ludicrous.
Interesting.
One of the things that George Papadopoulos gave an interview to CNN, and he provided some details about the Millian character that we've heard about several times, who keeps popping up here. And he says that he was also, because he said he was contacted by Stephen Halper, and he said he was also contacted by this Russian, and he said he reached out to him out of the blue on LinkedIn, just the way Stephen Halper did, and he said he proposed what he felt was a shady business deal to him, and he rejected it flat out and thought it was suspicious. Do we think now, or do we know if that was also an FBI effort to try to contact Papadopoulos?
We do know that the FBI tried to use Oleg Deripaska to do the same things, and he, of course, told them that their suspicions that Trump was involved, including with the Russians, was ludicrous and ridiculous. So, of course, they ignored Deripaska. I don't know anything about this other thing, but I can tell you this. The Papadopoulos thing is ludicrous and always has been. What you end up with is the doors closing in on the people who committed the crimes. Comey, McCabe, Brennan, Strzok, Baker, by the way, the former general counsel of the FBI, is now a cooperating witness in a case against James Comey.
Well, as you speak of James Comey, Andrew McCarthy has a piece out outlining how it really wasn't James Comey's decision to exonerate Hillary Clinton. This was done far earlier than we realized by President Obama, and he bases it on President Obama publicly stating in April of 2016 that Hillary Clinton had shown carelessness, and insisting that she had not intended to endanger national security. The first time we heard that. Yes. And then we know in May that Comey was drafting his findings in an investigation that hadn't happened yet. And then in July, he uses the exact same words that President Obama used in April. He lays out that this was not engineered by Comey. He was merely the front man. Obama did this.
That's fine, but I do not accept any innocence on the part of Comey. Listen, he stood up to Loretta Lynch. Why didn't he stand up to the president? Why didn't he resign if he's such a brave soul? Now, listen, this all goes back to Obama. Remember the Susan Rice memo to the file, the email on Inauguration Day?
Yes.
Where she goes back and she writes about a January 5th meeting in the Oval Office with the President, Biden, herself, Sally Yates, and James Comey? Well, guess what? That's how they decided that they had to get Michael Flynn. That meeting, remember how that the memo says the President wanted to insist that all intelligence and law enforcement efforts in this matter, the Russian interference, are done, quote, by the book. That was a meeting to discuss how Sally Yates was going to go get Michael Flynn. And the President of the United States at the time, Barack Obama, was directly involved in those discussions. Now, the statements that Obama made publicly about how what Hillary Clinton did with her private server did not violate the law, that's called command influence. And if that's not a crime, then the President of the United States talking to James Comey, someone he could fire, about not going forward with the Flynn case is not a crime. This is so outrageous that the President of the United States is being treated to a double standard. Comey is a criminal. He deserves to go to prison. Barack Obama had a discussion in the Oval Office with Sally Yates, Joe Biden, Susan Rice, and James Comey about how to do in Michael Flynn. And let's see what's going to happen with that. Let's see who subpoenas Susan Rice to talk about her email and what she meant by this bizarre email on Inauguration Day. It's like a bad movie.
Well, we're not far from finding out some new details about what happened during the Obama administration, because the president seems to be heading very rapidly towards declassification, at least of both Carter Page and Bruce Orr documents, some
Correct.
of those reports as soon as this week. What do we know about this, Joe?
It's going to happen. The documents were on two sets of lists given to the president with a number of items to be declassified, and Emmett Flood, who is the deputy to McGahn, who was presumed to be McGahn's successor, but now that's up in the air, has been reviewing the documents to determine what should be declassified to protect sources and methods. Well, of course, the sources and methods thing is just an absolute joke. That's just to protect the criminals in the FBI and the DOJ under Obama who violated FISA and everything else. The documents are going to be declassified. It'll probably happen within the next 2 weeks. This is really quite amazing. You are going to see, as a result of the declassification, how people in the FBI and the Obama Justice Department, Sally Yates, John Carlin, Loretta Lynch, just the most unbelievably unprofessional and criminal behavior by senior FBI officials. And thank God the department has some stable people who are considering the indictments of Comey. Again, Baker is now cooperating, the former general counsel of the FBI. This is a scandal that the New York Times doesn't want to talk about. They want to print an anonymous piece of garbage from somebody who may not even exist, and we're supposed to ignore the crimes that were committed by the Obama administration. It's not going to happen, folks. They're going to pay a price. The Obama people are finally going to pay a price.
Well, I know one man who's not ignoring it. It's Joe DiGenova. Thank you, as always, Joe. Really appreciate it, sir.
You bet, guys.